What's going on, Evan Nation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm MLB DFS Game Day Playbook Preview Show. Today, we are looking at the 5-game Monday main slate, starting at 6:40 p.m. Eastern Time. First Monday coming out of the 4th of July weekend holiday. So we got a nice little light slate here to kick us off. We have some big slates across the course of the week, though. DraftKings actually already has their Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday slates listed. So you can see the big days.
Let's record them all. Let's just record them all.
Yeah, well, the player pools aren't out yet, but they are letting us know ahead of time what we should expect on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday there. So some big slates to come, but a 5-game taster to start it off, man.
Yeah, and you know what? I tweeted it this weekend, John. I am so done with Coors Field slates. So done. I am so thankful that this is not a Coors slate. I actually
now you have the Rockies in Cincinnati, which is almost as the same.
I know it's yeah, but at least like they have bad pitching too that like we could take advantage of going into Great American, but like their bad pitching has pitched so well at Coors, like seemingly every time.
Gomber, Quantrill, like they're all out there just holding everybody down. Yeah.
Now I did cash like 2 of the 3 nights, so I shouldn't complain too much. But it's just like excruciating pain when you have like so much of that. Anyways, interesting slate. 5 games. We have season debut, return from injury for Chris Paddock. Chris Sale, obviously, things stand out pretty bad here. Pretty much when you have one starting pitcher, $2,000. Yeah, and deservedly so, because like it's obviously there's a severe drop off after Chris Sale, but it's going to be a incredibly interesting slate with some matchups, some good teams, some bad teams, and a whole lot of things.
Even Chris Sale, as dominant as he's been, I know we talk about this. Like with Sale at this point, it's not really mattering who he is going up against. Now he has had a relatively easier run of late. Arizona, as we know, is a top 5 offense against left-handed pitching on the year. They're better at home than they are on the road. All of that said, Chris Sale, deservingly so, all-star, looking like maybe a Cy Young here this year. And he's $2,000 more expensive than the next starting pitcher on a 5-game slate, where there are actually some pretty bad offenses on this slate. So, like, where now you're like, all right, do I take this mediocre pitcher against a bad offense and hope they have a ceiling game?
Yeah.
Or do I pay up 10-5 for Chris Sale and then, I don't know, punt SB2 or figure out how you're going to go with your lineup builds? I'm perfectly okay going with Sale here at 10-5 to start your lineups. But I think, obviously, on a smaller slate, cases can always be made to fade the chalk. If Chris Sale goes and gives you 33 fantasy points, you might lose, but I don't know. What do you think?
So, like, everything you said is factually correct. If you want to fade the most expensive pitcher, and he's really popular, and he gets lit up, well, you have an advantage.
Yeah, Oakland.
You also said the other factually correct thing is that if he goes out and he gives you 33 fantasy points and you don't have him and he's 70% rostered, well, you might not win. Those were all very factual statements. So I don't have much to add. You mentioned it, like Arizona's obviously an elite hitting offense against lefties. Could it be a little slightly worse lineup if Ketel Marte doesn't play again? Sure, because he's missed back-to-back games. Obviously, Christian Walker's on a different planet right now. Jock Peterson has been great. Lourdes has been great. They have a lot of players meshing all at once. Gabriel Moreno came off the IL. He's been good since. Even Eugenio Suarez, like, salute to him. He's actually hitting baseballs really well lately. So, it's a tough spot. But, like, Chris Sale has had a lot of tough spots this year.
Yeah.
8 strikeouts against the Yankees in Yankee Stadium. He faced Washington, who doesn't strike out. He had 10 strikeouts. He demolished Boston. He demolished Cleveland, who's a top 5 offense against lefties. He beat Texas. He already faced Arizona, second start of the year, 2 runs in 5 1/3. And at that point, 2 starts in, we were like, oh, Chris Sale, good couple starts.
Right.
This Chris Sale we haven't seen in years, right? So, if you want to play him, play him. If like no one's going to fault you for wanting to pay 10.
And to your point, almost even on the year, Arizona top 6 offense and WOBA right up there, 150 ISO. The numbers are actually coming down a little bit because over the last month they've more been middle of the pack to below average against lefties. So he might be catching them kind of at the right time. And then you go down to the next grouping here. Now Gavin Williams made his debut, came against the White Sox. Go look at that box score, man. He gave up a bottom of the lineup runs to like Nicky Lopez, Martin Maldonado, and like Lori Garcia or something like that. It's like, who might not even be on that team anymore, but he was like 6 years ago. But it's just a callback to like how bad of a bottom lineup they had.
Sure.
And they just all like scored on him, and he just like couldn't get it done. Obviously, the 2 strikeouts were concerning. He pitched well at the minor league level during his rehab outing, so maybe you just kind of throw that away, be like, all right, first game back, got the rust off, because his second start of the year is coming against Detroit, which is also a pretty favorable matchup for Gavin Williams here. So, Cleveland's going to be a favorite in this game. Below him, you have Andrew Abbott. He's at home. We obviously know this is a bad ballpark. He's been good, this year. He's another one that's sort of like pitches better than all of his peripheral stats suggest he should. But he did this last year as well for a very long time.
Exact same thing.
And some guys just live that way. So, you got him. We predicted the Daniels game against Oakland like he wasn't going to go through 8 shutout. Now he gets the Rangers. We're not going to chase that price tag at 8K. Paddock versus the White Sox, though, kind of interesting. John Gray versus the Angels, pretty interesting. So, there's some spots down here if you don't want to go Chris Sale, or if you go Chris Sale, there's a couple of guys here uncomfortable pairing up with him.
What was your text to me in Gavin Williams' last start was, we're a Gavin Williams household, I think you said. I'm rooting for Gavin Williams in this household. I think we were rooting for,
here it was. Actually, in the analysis, I said Lori Garcia. It was Lennon Sosa. So back-to-back doubles of Lennon Sosa and Nicky Lopez kicked off the 4th inning for a 4-run inning. So, he was cruising through 4 innings. 4th inning comes around. Bottom of the lineup just tears him apart. Bullpen comes in, gives up like a home run, and it was just like all of it. Like, it was just... so I'm willing to give him a chance.
Insert not great Bob meme from Mad Men. Yeah, I think he's
whenever Martin Maldonado's like doubling in RBIs off you, you're like,
it's nothing we could... I mean, he is going to be an all-star. Gavin Williams, for sure, is interesting. I would say... maybe we didn't get a full scope of what the pitch count would have been because he got hit up in 4 innings. Maybe he would have gone out for a 5th inning or continued to pitch deeper into the 5th inning.
He got to 74.
Right, in his debut. I agree. So we should definitely be comfortable with like 80 pitches or so. I'm very interested in Abbott despite the ballpark. Obviously, the strikeouts are really up and down with him, but this is a really great strikeout matchup. We saw it all weekend with the Royals, right? They struck out every at-bat against Cole Reagans, a lot against Seth Lugo.
Colorado, 3rd highest strikeout percentage against left-handed pitching, 25%. Obviously, Boston still number 1, and hey, 10 strikeouts for Andrew Abbott against Boston in that game.
Yep.
Whether you're a strikeout pitcher doesn't seem to matter when you face the Red Sox.
No, it doesn't.
Unless you're Christopher Sanchez. He didn't strike anybody out that day.
Daniel, I'm a little worried about Daniel here with the fly balls. Texas hit 55 home runs. Dead serious. That was the number. Go look on Sunday. They hit 55 home runs. If that's the team that's going to get healthy and start hitting, this dude is, 13 fly ball outs in 2 starts is really not great.
They had to sit Josh Jung again. They shut him down again.
Yeah,
it's brutal. Wrist is just causing problems for him.
Yeah, it's brutal. So no thanks on Daniel. I'm okay with Paddock. I definitely don't love that he's somebody that went under Tommy John and then like his first full season back is suffering from arm fatigue. There's a lot of things that could go into that. Obviously, I'm not suggesting those 2 things have to be correlated, but it's not a good sign. And whether or not he's doing great, we don't know if that can just pop up again. I know Rocco Baldelli said everything's good, whatever. I'm a little wishy-washy there because it's not like I mean, I've said it for a while with Paddock. Like, there was a lot of peripheral numbers suggesting that he hadn't gotten any luck.
Yeah.
Like, now we're talking about now there's bad luck plus arm fatigue. It's really tough for me. And I know I know the Angels are really bad, but like, dude, John Gray has been so bad, and he cannot miss bats. Since he came back from the IL, and I wrote up his strikeout unders last start against the Padres, which is easy because they strike out like 15% of the time. But dude, look at these strikeouts for John Gray. I mean, it's been since May that he has had more than 4 strikeouts in a game. It's hard for me to like really want to get there with John Gray at $7,000.
Yeah, no, I'm fully in agreement. I think for me, it's more so like the potential for win equity.
Sure.
He had the start against Kansas City, 6 shutout, only had 3 strikeouts, but got you the 22 fantasy points. Obviously, nobody really pitches well. All too often gets Baltimore. San Diego has been a team that's been pretty good as lately as well. So like maybe you hope you catch him here a little bit. But you're right. He is coming off the injury. They shut him down. They have him throw like a bullpen game against the Dodgers as like a tune-up, and then he got tuned up. So like
twice in 4 games.
Yeah, not great. But what are you? You're not going to pitch Flexen, right? Like you have Diaz making a debut, Feltner, Montero. Like, do you have any interest in the cheap?
Yeah, I do. Okay. And it wouldn't be a show if I didn't. So Yilbert Diaz, okay. This dude, another like very good strikeout arm coming up from the minor leagues. In 54 double-A innings, he had 77 strikeouts. In 22 triple-A innings this year in the PCL, 3.27 ERA, 28 strikeouts in 22 innings. His K per 9, his last 4 stops, 12.7, 12.4, 11.5, 12.8. So a lot of strikeouts, 23 years old. I'd be okay getting there. I've talked about it a couple times. Sunday withstanding, the Braves have struggled against right-handed pitching.
They got to Nola the other day. I mean, well, Austin Riley continues to get to Nola.
Austin Riley specifically got to Nola.
BVP monster Austin Riley against Aaron Nola, man. I know you hate it, but let's talk BVP quickly because Rafi Devers homered off Garrett Cole.
I mean, there's like, it's still such a small sample. Like he's 13 of 39 with 8 home runs, right? Yeah. So like obviously 8 out of 39 is like a pretty high.
It's almost a homer a game if you divide it by like 4, right? Like
4 bats. Yeah, no, it's a lot, obviously, for like best pitcher last year in baseball, like probably maybe the best pitcher in the last decade, Garrett Cole, and he's just this one player. Well, G-Man Choi also. G-Man Choi and Rafael Devers.
Both lefty.
I mean, it's I don't have like an explanation because what if like Devers had this? What if he goes 0 for his next 20 against Garrett Cole, right? Then like what are we? Then
honestly, I think knowing Garrett Cole though, like he does have sort of like mental, lacks mental toughness at times.
Yes,
like, he might see Rafael Devers there, and he's like the kicker in the Water Boy where he sees like the spook mask and he like can't kick the ball, like.
I'm not saying like I'm not sitting here saying that like BVP like it's just we look at data all year long and we collect data all year long for hundreds and hundreds of at-bats. And none of that it can be like I see people talking about like 3 for 5 with 2 doubles against him. Like this is the best play of the day because he's 3 for 5 with 2 doubles. It's like, okay. That's so great for that person in a 5 plate appearance sample. Like,
what about Riley though? He's 23 for 60 out of 63 for 6 homers against Aaron.
That's a lot. Like that's obviously
63 at bats. Like
that's a lot of at bats. Obviously, like you're facing someone within the division a lot. Yeah. I'm not saying Devers' sample isn't worth anything either. I tweeted at you. I said I hate you, and I mean it. I mean
Plus
it.
Plus 235 homer cashed it.
I mean it. But like, anyways.
Tangent aside, you're on the Atlanta offense struggling.
Yeah, I mean they were very good on Sunday. They hit a lot of home runs. Even Adam Duvall is 1 for 90 against
They
righties.
Can do that. They have a lot of power in that lineup.
Also, Kiner Montero is another guy with a lot of strikeout appeal. $4,000. I said it to you against Minnesota. Like we love Minnesota. We love Cleveland. He's $4,000. He is $4,000. If you were to pair him with Chris Sale, you have $4,400 for the remainder of your lineup. That should not be the case when one of your starters is $10,000 plus dollars. Like, you should still not have $4,400. I understand that also kind of takes Cleveland off the board for you, and that might not be the best approach, considering the home runs and all the traffic that Montero's had. But you said it right at the top that we're not dealing with the best slate of pitching after Chris Sale. So taking some shots on a Yulber Diaz or a Montero, it's fine with me.
And you know, to that point, you could go Sale and Diaz. It's a small enough slate. We've said it before. You can use pitchers on both sides of the matchup, and hope Yulber goes out there and strikes out 7 over 5 and gets you 12 fantasy points or something like that. So, all right, catcher. Obviously, it's a small slate, so we'll take whoever's in the lineup. We'll generally look for some value and kind of plug them in. We've talked some bad pitching, obviously, on this slate, so there are some guys in good split spots if you want to go ahead and take advantage of that. You've mentioned, obviously, Daniel, probably one of our favorite punching bags for this slate. Jonah Heim coming off of a 4-hit game at $3,300 feels like a pretty good plug.
Yeah, and he's been good in general of late. Another Texas Ranger, 1,000 OPS over his last 10 games. They're getting healthy outside of Josh Jung, and they've been very good offensively. I would say Heim at 3,300 is just far and away the best play. And then, like, you punt with someone like Christian Vasquez, who actually has been pretty good offensively lately.
Block off homer.
Yeah, two home runs in those 3 games with 3 multi-hit games in a row. We'll see if
he
he's
was
in the
so much
lineup.
better an offensive player in Boston. He went to Minnesota and could not hit a baseball.
He was a very good offensive player in Boston, which was interesting that he just can't now. But
can't hit. Yeah.
Except now he can.
Now, 3 straight games of 2 hits, putting Jeffers on the bench after Jeffers looked like he was on a pace for 30 homers at one point.
That is true. That is true. I think an extension, I think.
Yeah, no doubt. First base, all-star Josh Naylor is $5,600. Walker and Olsen all up here as well. You got a favorite of the group? Again, it's a smaller slate. Where are we going?
I mean, of the 5K tier, if I'm not using any of the punts, it's Naylor or Olsen, I would say. If I'm not punting with either of those pitchers, Olsen continues to strike out too much. 16 strikeouts in 10 games is a lot, but another guy who homered on Sunday, I'd be okay with Naylor, Olsen. And if you're fading Sale, on a 5-game slate, if you're fading Sale, you're playing Arizona. I would say that you're not just fading Sale and not playing Arizona, you're fading Sale for the Oakland blow up that he had. So Christian Walker's obviously in play there.
Sure. Obviously Nathaniel Lowe against Daniels down here. He's hitting the ball really well right now. He's $3,700 if you're not in on Paddock. Andrew Vaughn has a lot of power, $3,800 for him there. Anybody else for you in the mid tier?
Santana, Candelario at home. He's been bad lately. Taglia against a lefty. He's had some good numbers against lefties. Nathaniel Lowe continues to hit, as you mentioned. I guess White Sox are a little bit interesting to me just because we don't really have an idea of what is expected of Chris Paddock, right? I don't know what our expectation should be for Paddock. So Sheets or Andrew Vaughn are both fine.
Sure. Over at second base here, again, you mentioned we don't know the status of Ketel Marte. Marcus Semien somehow made the All-Star team. Not quite sure on that one there.
Yeah, that's...
Willie Castro's 4,800. India, 41 against Feltner. Rogers against the lefty and Abbott, 37. Colt Keith even really has been on fire lately. What are your thoughts at second?
It's probably is it crazy to just play Colt Keith? Is that absurd? Or, obviously India's in play. He's cooled down a little bit, but also,
if you're playing Sale, don't you plug in a $3,100 second?
Yeah, I think that's easy. Yeah,
high prospect second baseman that seemingly has found the stroke right now.
Dude, he has been really good. And just the fact that you can get double down upside. I'm not saying that's regular, but
yeah. Listen, we've talked a lot about these prospects that started the year with their teams. They had the early struggles. So obviously, Keith's struggles lasted 2 months to begin the year. But now you look around, Chorio, Rafael, Keith, these guys are starting to really hit the ball well. And yeah, $3,100, like play him. We've said this for a little bit, like play him now while he's 3K, because soon he's going to be 4K and you're going to miss out on the value here. I get it's the Tigers, but again, Gavin Williams just didn't really show us much of anything here. So, and even last year, Gavin Williams, you look at kind of his peripheral numbers, like not great. He was a top 50 prospect. So like there is some expectations of him being a good pitcher, but we haven't seen it really at the major league level yet. So,
right.
Anybody else for you at second?
Yeah, I mean, Angel Martinez, second base outfield prospect for the Guardians. He's been pretty good since getting called up.
The walks are nice.
The walks are nice. He is hitting like in a really good spot in the lineup. At AAA this year, 915 OPS. He has been better against left-handed pitching.
Yeah.
Overall, but that's for like from an average standpoint. He's hit all 5 of his home runs as a left-handed batter though at AAA. So that's what we'll get here against Cutter Montero. So
sure.
2,800 if we're stacking against Montero. If Angel Martinez continues to be this, and let's see, stolen base upside. No, not a lot of steals. So, but
well, that's what I was looking too. I'm like, man, he walks a lot, but no stolen bases. So,
yeah,
All right, third base. You got Ramirez at the top at $6,500. Riley, but all roads lead to our guy here, right? He's not going to get sat 2 days in a row. Jose Miranda, $4,700. Pinch hits, gets another hit.
He's starting the cycle back up, right? Like we're starting it. I was so sad. I turned on the TV last night. I got home. I was talking to my wife. I'm like, hey, look, this is the guy I was telling you about. He has tied for the record for most hits in a row. And then
why did they needed to cool off the bat? Like, why do you bench a guy that's on this level of heater right now?
I don't know. I never understood that ever in baseball or sports in general, right? Like you're like, why do you get
at least he got up there and he got another hit to show you that he's like okay, right? Like, you know, he's
to show you that he's okay.
Just taking swings in the cage maybe all game, like keeping the routine going. Anyways, Chris Flexen, 4,700 from Miranda, like core play.
Dude, he's hitting 331 on the year.
Yeah, and he's hitting righties. So this isn't like, oh, you know, he's better against lefties, but he's so hot, we'll play him against righty. No, like he actually just hammers right. So, yeah, 100% in on Flexen. Again, if you're liking to go against Daniel, I know Josh Smith is starting to come down, but still, Rangers feel like they're in a pretty good spot.
Yes.
What else are we looking at here?
I mean, Noli Marte, if you're playing Reds, I don't love it, but
bet is over strikeouts. I mean, geez.
Yeah, bet is over. That's fair. If you're fading Chris Sale, Eugenio Suarez has been super good, especially obviously like aided by one big game lately, but there's been a couple and the bat's obviously waking up a little bit. Has notoriously been good against him. Yeah, that he actually is over that he's finally $3,000.
No, that they put him back to third base.
No, he's been third.
No, they moved him to second the other day so we could play him and Miranda.
When was that?
Friday?
No, we were talking on the show. Remember, I was like, I just can't not play Miranda at third. And
there was a day where they moved him so we could play them both. I'm pretty sure.
Maybe it was Saturday. It was definitely not Sunday because I played Twins on Sunday and it didn't work out.
I think when I did the show at Bender, maybe it was to preview the Thursday slate.
Because when Howard and I did the show, we saw Brooks Lee and Miranda. Howard was devastated. Miranda was only third base. And that was like the progression. And then Brooks Lee was also third base.
Yeah.
And I think we built with Brooks Lee. And then when you and I did the show, I think we built with Brooks Lee. But I was telling you, like, dude, we have to.
Yeah.
Like,
there was
Miranda.
There was a slate where they moved him because we were able to play them both as part of like our stack. But anyways, they moved him back. Or I'm just misremembering, but I don't think that's the case. Anyways, he's 3K. So you're right. I mean, this dude has obviously come up in men as advertised.
Yes.
So you're still playing Miranda. You know, the field may move to Brooks Lee on the value if they're playing Chris Sale, but we talked Cole Keith at 3,100 a way to get your value in. So, but dude, this kid is crazy good right now.
Yeah, obviously, if you need salary, like no one's gonna fault you for playing a 3K Brooks Lee with how good he's been.
Yeah, I mean, this just isn't really a slate where like there's a ton. I mean, shortstop obviously has Ellie. There's Seager. There's not really a ton. This isn't a slate where there's a lot of obvious spend up offensive players. Obviously in the outfield, there's no Ohtani, there's no Judge, there's no Soto. You're not paying 58 for Quan, right? So, I don't think you are. So I feel like spending up at third if you want to get Miranda is fine. But if you needed the money with Lee, you can. Bringing us to shortstop, Ellie against Feltner at home at 63. And then Seager against Daniel at 5K.
Yeah, I think both are really hard to not play. Obviously, Feltner's had severe struggles against lefties specifically. Ellie's on the better end of a split. So, perfect spot to play Ellie. But Seager, dude, this is just one of those situations. When Corey Seager is going this good, you just play him, right? Because he's just one of those dudes that has like streaks that are better than everyone else. He's got a 15 game, 12 game hit streak or something. We're getting extra bases every game. So I think when Seager is going this good, it's incredibly hard to not plug him in the lineup. There are 2 games. Davis Daniel. I typed in Chase Daniel, by the way. Shout out to the greatest backup quarterback ever, based on contracts at least. 40% fly ball rate. There was 2 games, as we mentioned. He had a 44% fly ball rate during his time last year in the major leagues, 34% in the AAA this year, 38%. Like, he pitches to a lot of fly balls.
Yeah.
And that's just not going to play against Corey Seager when he's going this well. He's going to hit a home run. So Seager's definitely my top, especially you can save $1,300 off Ellie, but I think they're 1 and 2 with a bullet.
Sure. I mean, there's not really value to play. I mean,
you don't need to.
You don't need to, but there isn't really anything anyway. So not too.
Kevin Newman,
Newman's been playing a lot. If you're not going Sale, you can do that. And then takes us to the outfield, where again I like Ozuna at 57, Robert against Paddock at 51, but there isn't that 6K outfielder. Quan's your most expensive guy, so some good options obviously down in the mid tier. If you're going not looking to go against Sale, then there's Buxton against Flexen, Dolas versus Daniels down here, Doyle versus Abbott's $4,300. I mean, it's just solid grouping of outfielders.
Yeah, I think the top tier is a little bit interesting. Like, if you're playing Guardians, like, you probably do want Steven Kwan, or at least some.
Can you get Kwan, Ramirez, Sale, or would you rather Naylor, Ramirez, and Sale? Right? Like,
it's fair, but also like think about like what Cleveland has done this year. They've now called up John Kenzie Noel, and they've called up Angel Martinez, who are both less than 3,300, hitting in the middle of their lineup. Like, you could spend up realistically if you're punting a pitcher with Sale. Obviously, you wouldn't punt Montero in the spot, and still play. Dude, Kwan's homered in 2 of his last 4 games. I know and he's hitting 364. Like, I'm completely with you. I have not played a lot of Steven Kwan at this price tag. He's also having some big games this year.
I know, but none of his Statcast numbers make sense.
I know, but we've done this with we've done this with pitchers too, that nothing peripherally makes sense, and the pitchers that are having bad luck continue to have bad luck, and the pitchers who are having good luck continue to have good luck, and sometimes baseball is going to baseball. So if you're going to stack Guardians, I do think Kwan's fine. Same thing with Atlanta. I would play Ozuna in a stack. I really like Luis Robert in this spot. Chris Paddock, Robert obviously strikes out a lot. Chris Paddock throws a lot of fastballs. So that's really good for a guy who strikes out a lot to homer, especially when that guy has arm problems. Is that arm fatigue? You're going to go out there and just throw curves,
right?
And all these off-speed stuff that require more torque on your arm. So
no, I like Luis Robert a lot here. I like, again, you talk White Sox. Obviously, you can go Robert and Eloy Jimenez. And that Jimenez is relatively cheap. Going up against Paddock here, both have a lot of power, so certainly makes some sense. Value-wise, you mentioned a couple of guys. If you were going against Sale, Lourdes does hit lefties really well this year still. Kelenic leading off, so 4K up there in that matchup. Wyatt Langford, another 4 hits for him on Sunday. Just adding to the Rangers and their matchup against Daniel.
Yeah, I don't have really anything. I agree on all fronts. Lourdes obviously against lefty if you're not playing Sale. Did you mention Kelenic in that?
I did, yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. For sure against the guy making his debut in Langford. Agree on all fronts.
You mentioned Noel, obviously. Are any other value guys that you play?
Grishik against the lefty. Where do we have mentioned Martinez? Wallner is a little bit interesting. He got recalled. Obviously, he got pinch hit for.
Yeah, he did that last year all the time.
And so, that's a thing you'd have to deal with if you're playing Minnesota. But if Wallner's in the lineup,
there was someone earlier this year that tweeted out that if you just played the split side for Matt Wallner last year, you had a guy with 900 OPS against right-handed pitching and a 300 ISO. He's yeah, you just the perfect platoon for DFS, right? He's going to face righties and he's, got the numbers of you're on Alvarez. And I'm I don't know. I don't know if that's how that math adds up. And obviously he was terrible this year. So
but he is back. He did get an at-bat. He did have a hit and a walk in his 2 at-bats. So
sure.
That's something. Martinez, we talked about. Forrest.
Did they call Parker Meadows up to get hurt right away?
They did call up Parker Meadows. He did get hurt immediately with a hamstring. So he's done again. What do we got for Reds? Reds, dude. You try to play their outfield, and then Friedel, Fraley, Martini, all in the freaking IL. All of them. When did that happen? So Fraley's on a medical emergency.
200 hitting Benson, or done.
Well, I just like the lefties against Feldner, and they're just ruining the vibe here with them all being injured. Dude, they were all just playing. I just played Nick Martini. I think I didn't even see him get hurt. He left Sunday with a thumb sprain. Oh, okay, whatever. I'm beside
myself. Lineup. We'll double stack this and land Arizona game.
Okay.
Gives us
a little Colt Keith there.
Yeah, Colt Keith at second.
Little Seager action at short.
Seager,
Luis Robert, maybe as our spends here. Or...
Okay. Did I hit him already? I did hit him already. Okay, so we got 4,250. Did Nathaniel Lowe. There, Miranda. We got 4,300. Do pair him with Eloy there?
Yeah, that'd be okay. Or
46.
Langford. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Langford. Yeah, Langford works. Langford's there, 39, and that gives us 47. Doesn't really change much. Buxton. Just throwing Buxton with Miranda.
Yeah, it would just be Buxton. Yeah.
Call it a day.
Yeah. Yep, it would just be Buxton, I think, there.
What?
It would just be Buxton as the alternative.
Yeah. All right. Example lineup: Sale, Diaz, Heim, Lowe, Keith, Miranda, Seager, Robert, Buxton, and Langford. Example lineup. James will be on your playbook. Find us on Twitter. Get us in the Discord. We'll talk to you later.